He became the king of rock and roll, but his life was far more complicated than most people realize. What might modern celebrities look like if they were Elvis? And who was Elvis himself? Elvis Presley was born in 1935 in a small town in Mississippi. His family had very little money, and life was difficult from the very beginning. He grew up in a modest home, deeply influenced by gospel music in church, and the sounds of blues and country that surrounded him. These early influences would later shape a completely new kind of music that the world had never heard before. As a child, Elvis was quiet, even shy. He didn't look like someone who would one day become one of the most famous people on the planet, but music changed everything for him. It wasn't just entertainment, it was his identity. In 1954, Elvis walked into a small recording studio, and that moment changed history. When he started recording music at Sun Records, his unique sound immediately stood out. It wasn't just his voice, it was the way he blended different genres together. Black rhythm and blues, white country music, Elvis combined them in a way that broke cultural barriers at the time. And then came the reaction. Some people loved him instantly, others were shocked. His voice, his style, and especially his movements on stage were considered controversial. Television appearances sparked outrage among older generations, while younger audiences couldn't get enough of him. The more people talked about him, the more famous he became. Very quickly, Elvis turned into a national sensation. His songs topped the charts, his concerts were packed, and fans, especially young women, would scream, cry, and sometimes even faint just seeing him on stage. It was something the world had never experienced before. This was not just music anymore. This was the birth of modern celebrity culture. But fame came at a price. At the peak of his early success, Elvis was drafted into the United States Army in 1958. Many believed this would end his career. In the fast-moving world of entertainment, disappearing for 2 years could mean being forgotten forever. But Elvis was different. When he returned, he didn't just come back. He came back even bigger. He shifted his focus toward Hollywood, starring in dozens of films throughout the 1960s. These movies made him even more famous and brought in millions of dollars. Elvis was no longer just a musician, he was a global brand. However, not everything was as perfect as it seemed. Behind the scenes, Elvis was under constant pressure. His career was heavily controlled by his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, who made many decisions that shaped Elvis's path, not always in his best interest. Instead of experimenting with his music, Elvis was often pushed into safe, repetitive film roles that slowly began to limit his artistic growth. By the late 1960s, something had to change. In 1968, Elvis made a powerful comeback with a television special that reminded the world who he really was. Dressed in black leather, performing live, full of energy, this was the Elvis people had been missing. It reignited his career and proved that he still had something unique. From that moment on, he returned to live performances, especially in Las Vegas, where he performed regularly in front of sold-out audiences. Once again, he was on top. But the pressure never stopped. The constant touring, teens-packed the lifestyle, it all on his health. Elvis struggled with exhaustion, stress, and over time, became dependent on prescription medications. His appearance began to change, and the energetic performer people once knew was slowly fading. Despite all of this, his fans never left him. Even in his final years, Elvis remained one of the most recognizable and influential figures in the world. His music, his voice, and his image had already become part of global culture. Then, in 1977, at just 42 years old, Elvis Presley died. The news shocked the world. Millions of fans mourned his death, and his home, Graceland, became a place of pilgrimage. People from all over the world came to pay their respects to the man who had changed music forever. But even though his life ended, his legacy didn't. Elvis Presley is still known today as the king of rock and roll. His influence can be seen in countless artists who came after him. From his sound to his style, from his stage presence to the very idea of what it means to be a global superstar, Elvis helped define it all. And maybe that's what makes his story so powerful. It's not just about fame. It's not just about music. It's about how one person, from the most ordinary beginnings, can change the world and still struggle behind the spotlight. Because Elvis Presley wasn't just a legend. He was human. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel and don't forget to turn on the bell.